You're now tuned in to Young Black Equestrians TV, where we share the passion, culture, and lifestyle of the Black horse community. Yeah, I reached out to you on Instagram because I saw where you won Rookie of the Year for the National Cutting Horse Association. But then I was just looking to kind of refresh, and I was like, you won like the amateur world title. Like, what?
Yes, I won the 15 AM world title, and I was 11th in the world for the 2000 division, as well as Rookie of the Year.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. It was a lot.
So let's go back. Let's start from the beginning and work our way up to here. So just briefly tell us about yourself and kind of where you're located and what discipline or what horses you have.
Sure. So I'm originally from California. I've been in Hartselle, Colorado and in general for 15 some odd plus years now. Mm-hmm. And Hartselle itself is a tiny little town. There's less than a couple hundred people that live here year round, and 9,000 feet in elevation and off the grid. So kind of a different, quiet, solitary life out here. It's not exactly really full of city, and which is awesome because I get to wake up every day with my horses sitting outside, right? So yeah. My show ponies, however, don't live here. My show ponies were in Arizona for quite a long time, and then also in Texas. I bought every horse that I competed on this year in Texas. Mm-hmm. And so the time that I spent in Arizona at Shade Keller Performance Horses out of Al Dunning's barn was down there in Arizona. And then Leon Harrell's, who I actually purchased my cutting horses from, that I rode and competed on to World Finals this year. And that's where they reside currently. So a lot of time spent between here and Texas, which is okay because there's a lot of snow on the ground here in Hartselle. It's maybe 10 degrees out today.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine.
Not with the cold weather.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Nice break to go down to Texas. They're like, it's snowing. I'm like, yes, but it's 32 degrees.
Right. Awesome. Right. That's like warm to people up there.
Exactly. So
that is pretty cool. Yeah. So how did you get into horses initially?
So I've never known a time without horses. My grandfather used to ride like the Bill Pickett rodeo and things of that sort when he was younger before he went into Navy. Mm-hmm. And when my mom got pregnant with me, the horse gene skipped her 110%.
It happens.
Yeah, it was like, no, not interested. She was a flight attendant for Pan American Airlines, so Pan Am Airlines. Mm-hmm. And when she got pregnant with me, she was like, I need to get a horse. And she adopted an off-the-track thoroughbred.
Yeah, that's the first choice.
Right? Bad decisions. Never rode it, just like cleaned the stall and brushed it. And that was the first horse that I grew up with and never ended and discontinued that horse life. So fortunately, my father was into horses and my grandfather was into horses. So I had a long line of people to bring me along that had their roots in ranching. And, despite my mom really not even liking to get out of the car when the horses are present, for whatever reason, she bought the horse. It shows up to the horse shows. So I got to give it to her. She's an awesome barn mom.
Oh, good. What discipline did you ride growing up?
Really just Western ranching, every kid does their fair share of gymkhanas and can chasing and things of that sort. Mm-hmm. I moved around quite a bit. We lived in Europe for a number of years. So you do dressage and jumping. Mm-hmm. That's there. And then when I came back to the United States, I attended Feather River College for a while. And where was that? Over 20 years ago. So that tells you how long I've been around in this industry.
That's okay. You look amazing.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, I went up to Feather River College because I kind of wanted to further my knowledge. And that's when I was like, being a horse trainer isn't for me, but I love riding and I love the way I connect with horses. And I could still offer a lot to the horse industry. And after that, I've always started buying my own colts here on my own ranch and, sold them that way, and outfitting and packing and so many things to do with horses. And I would go to the occasional show, but nothing like I did last year.
Right.
Last year I woke up and was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And so.
Yeah. So let's talk about that journey. Like beginning of last year, you just kind of decided like, hey, cutting horse discipline. I'm gonna just try to see how this goes and go everywhere.
Right? Like I just got in my truck. 2 years previously, I had a horse that was in training out in California. That was supposed to be getting prepped for the snaffle bit for Charity. And she wasn't really making the cut. And I really wanted to know more about the cutting side of it. So hard to find someone to give you a cutting horse lesson. It was like it didn't exist. You have to buy a cutting horse if you want to take a lesson, which was so strange. If you want to jump, you can go take a lesson. There are literally pony. Yeah, like you get on a horse, you decide if you like jumping or not. If you're really into it, you can buy a lesson package or you buy a jumping horse. I myself trained my own jumping horse and jumped for a number of years and had a great time doing it. Cutting is a little different. It's not a straight line discipline. It's a lateral discipline going right to left with your hand down. So not a lot you can fix. If you're riding a straight line, there's a lot you can fix when you're going straight. There's not a lot to fix when going right and left. So I thought I should really get a lesson and figure out some of the cutting more if this is what's really interesting me. And I couldn't find anybody in Colorado, California, even where I had my horse in training. Is like, I can't put you on a finished cutting horse. No. And so I got on the internet, did a search, and Leon Harrell's name came up. And he had won open world championships and futurities. And it's like, you come down here a week to 2 weeks and you get to ride world champion horses. And I thought, nobody's advertising that. Like nobody's even doing anything close to that. Right. So I went ahead and signed up for his lessons and sessions to get introduced into cutting. And really almost turned around because I thought, man, I've lived up in the middle of nowhere by myself for a long time. I ride by myself for a long time. The other people that I ride with up here are the same people for years. I mean, it's not like you have a new influence or somebody new coming in to see how you ride or critique what you're doing. And I thought, can I really go all the way down to Texas and have someone critique how I'm riding? And Leon was awesome. He was like, you should down, let's have breakfast and then we'll go ride. And so I met him at the little local cafe and he was just so kind and so easy to be around. I thought, okay, I can't imagine this guy turning around and hear something in the middle of the lesson. I don't have much to lose. And I did drive all the way from Hartsville, Colorado to,
Colorado to Texas.
Right. And so no horses in tow, just like, okay, let's go. And it was great. It was a blast. He put me on 1 horse, 2 horse, 3 horses, kind of giggled and laughed. And finally, a few more horses into it, he was like, I think I finally out-horsed you. I was like, oh. He's like, I think you should get a, cutting horse. I think this is your game. And I was like, okay, what's that entail? Because you really don't know. Nobody talks about the prices of what these horses cost. And I figure it would be something substantial to be able to put your hand down and do what they do. And I mean, I've been in enough disciplines to know what I was riding was not, was going to be more of purchasing a truck than purchasing a, piece of furniture for your house. So
yeah,
I was like, okay, what's it cost? And he was really honest. He was like, if you want a horse athletic enough to go to certain abilities and really win, your base price, you're going to be $35,000 and above. And I was like, okay. And that's something nobody talks about in the cutting world. There's a lot of $10,000 cutters. There's a lot of amazing horses for $20,000. But he was like, you're going to put that additional $15,000, $20,000 into training. So either way, you're going to pay that. So if the way that you ride and how interested you're in, if you want to just get to cutting right away, that's what you're going to spend. So I said, okay, well, let me think it over. And if you can find me a horse, I think I definitely want to do this. And by the end of the week, when I went to Dallas to see some family that I had never met, I was having dinner and whatnot, and Leon called me and said, "Hey, baby doll, are you still in Texas?" I said, "I am." He goes, "I think I found you a horse," and that was Cereal Cat. I call her Bobby Cakes, and she was my first cutting horse. I was like, "Well, if you think she's going to be a good fit, then I'll buy her." And he's like, "Come out and ride her." And I don't know what I'm looking for. I got on the road, and I'm like, "Feels like the other horses." You have to tell me.
Right. What do I look like?
I'm like, "Is this right?" And he's like, she has a lot that she has to still learn, and she hadn't been showed a ton. She had just come off of her futurity year and showed in the summer spectacular, and made the finals, but not hauled. She was young. She was only 5 years old. And okay, I get it. Let's do it. And so I bought Bobby and got injured and didn't ride that year.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, okay. And so finally I just said, Leon, this is a strange injury. I had cardia equina, which affects the nervous system around the lower part of your spinal cord. So I couldn't really feel my legs and my pelvic area very well. Mm-hmm. I said, but I really want to ride. I think you sit around and do nothing. You are nothing. But if you get a ride, you have a reason to go every day. Right. And so he was like, why don't you just come down and ride? I thought, God, Leon's pretty stinking special. Anybody else would have been like, no, you're not coming down and getting on this horse.
Right.
And so, yeah, truck and trailer in tow, I headed down to Texas, and I was having some troubles riding. He tied the reins into my hand and was like, this will keep you from dropping them. Just ride, just get up and ride. And it had been a year. And so I said, well, there's a cutting show in Scottsdale, Arizona, Cave Creek, Arizona, out there. And at the time I had a boarding facility out there, and I thought, I'm just going to haul myself to Texas and I'm going to show up to the show. I didn't know about trainers, turnbacks, herd help, all these things that went into having this full team to be able to cut. I knew nothing about it. I'd only gone to a couple of shows and watched, but I thought, if I have a reason to wake up, you have a reason to go. So I hauled my horse to Texas, landed at my boarding facility out there, and the poor secretaries at the Arizona Cutting Horse Association, Kathy Unfriend is a saint and a half. I think I called her 100 times that day. What time should I be there? And it's the $1,000 limited class, so it wasn't even a sanctioned NCHA class, and where do I park? And how is this? And poor Kathy's like, for the love of things natural, just be here by 1 and he'll be fine. Yeah. My class didn't even go to like 7 o'clock at night. I was there at like 11 in the morning. And right. And I mean, I could walk and everything, but I really couldn't feel my legs. And I thought, I don't know if I'm making the right decision, but I bought a cutting horse. I'm going to come show. And so Jade Keller had been recommended to me through Al Dunning, and we could not connect before the show. So like I said, I just drove up to the show, signed up for my classes. And when it was time to go in the ring, I was like, hey, Jade, I'm Raven. You've been recommended to me. I could certainly use your help today. And he's like, okay. That's how much we spoke before I walked into the pen to do my first class, and walked in and cut my cow. And it went really fast. I mean, like the fastest 2.5 minutes I've ever had. And I don't think I took a breath the whole time, but it didn't do so bad. We marked a 68, which is definitely not an ideal score to win any money or anything like that. But I didn't zero out. I stayed in the middle of my horse, and I got the run. And Jade was like, well, I think I can help you out. Come tomorrow earlier and we'll practice a little bit before we go in. And by the end of the week, he was the trainer that I was using out of Arizona. And really stuck with me, helped me through it. Even though I was injured, he never said, you're crazy, you can't ride or something like this. He was like, okay, okay. And I think that's really important to have a home base like that, a good support system that just encourages you and you going forward. And from that show on, Bobby and I won a check to every show that we went to. And at the end of the year, I had only showed in the $1,000, and I wanted to show in the 2,000 the next year, which is this year, 2019, last year actually. And so I just stopped showing. I pulled up and stopped showing. And 2019 started. I was like, let's see what we got. Like I want to see how far I can take it. And so with Serio Cat and Jade Keller Performance Horses, we went to the first show of the year down in Tucson, Arizona. Outback Cutting puts on a phenomenal show. And we took circuit champions in the 15 amateur, and we won a good amount of money in the 2000. And during the saddle shootout, I was like a half a point away from winning a saddle. And I thought, okay.
Yeah, you can do this.
I'll go for it. Yeah, I think this is going to be okay. So that's how it
certainly. I commend you for not giving up and just persevering through all of that. That is impressive.
Yeah, some days I question my own sanity. I'm sure my family is like, you lost your marbles, and I'm like, yeah, probably the first time I smelled a horse 40 years ago, but there's no regaining.
We're past it now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. When you're a horse girl, that's it. You can't change that. It's in your blood. So
yeah.
Right. Yeah. When you're practicing, what actually goes into practicing for these events?
That first year was quite a bit. My horse, not having been familiar with hauling herself, and also coming into a new trainer, she was no longer at Leon's, she was now with Jade. She had a lot to learn about hauling, about being there for me, not just getting the cow herself. I had to learn so much about slowing down, staying in the middle and waiting. That's probably was the biggest challenge, was waiting. I do everything about 1,000 miles a minute. I don't have a lot of patience. And so this whole waiting was, I'm sure Jade rammed his head into the wall about 1,000 times, like wait, slow down, wait. And just a lot of practicing and waiting for your horse and making sure your timing's correct. And he was just really phenomenal. About halfway through the year, I needed to haul to places that his barn wasn't going to. And I definitely had the basis between him and Leon to take off on my own and haul around. People were just like amazed. I would show up to shows without a trainer. But Jade didn't just say, hey, you go out there and I'll fix it later. I was definitely fully involved in the full training process. I rode my horse alongside of him. And when I got to the point where I could go out and mark a good score, a 74 or 75, and he wasn't like, gosh, we have to fix everything on your horse. I was confident enough to know that I can go to shows by myself, and it was necessary to be able to get the world title for me. I was the only person that in particular year hauling. He has a lot of people in his barn. They just weren't hauling that year. They'd either got new horses or they had, different life things come up. So here I was, the only person hauling, and I had to make some decisions if I wanted to try to make it to the top 15.
Yeah. So for some of our audience who might not know exactly what cutting is, can you explain that to us?
Sure. So cutting is basically when you take your horse and you're going to sort out of the herd. So you have a herd that will end up being behind you, and you're going to push one cow up out of that herd, and you have 4 people sitting in your corners that are going to kind of keep everything settled where it's not getting too wild. That herd stays behind you, and the one that you bring up, they'll help make sure that it stays up in front of you. And once you push that cow up out of the herd, so that's your herd work, and you are judged on that, how well you can, steer your horse and how quiet it stays, and does your horse have a bright expression, and is it working well and listening to you well? And once you lock onto the cow that you've chosen, hopefully in the center of the pen, if you've done everything right, you put your hand down. And your hand will stay down until your horse basically breaks down that cow. And the cow will go back and forth, and you'll try to keep it in the middle third of that pen until it stops moving. Once it stops moving, you can tag off and go back into the herd and get another cow. You can do that up to 3 times in 2.5 minutes.
Mm. So where do the point values come from?
That is, I think, the toughest thing about cutting to understand. If you do reining, there's a point system. If you do hunter jumpers, you understand your penalties, you understand your times. If you do jumping, you also understand your times, your point penalties. In cutting, some of it is really opinion, how well you and your horse are handling yourself. And then there's a whole nother part of it where your horse is being judged once you put your hand down. Is your horse staying with that cow, or are you out of position? Every single time that you're out of position, you're too far away from a cow. Your cow's here, you're over here. Well, there goes a point. Now you turn, you're short the other way. There goes another point. So ideally, a 70 is a clean score. You've gone out, you've done your job. You don't have any penalties, but you didn't do anything to get any pluses to give you additional points. And it's pretty hard to earn a check off of just a 70. I've earned lots of checks off of 70s because it's been a hard cow day for people, right? Like in general, it was a tough herd. So 70 will get you a check. But then there are other days where I've marked a 74 and couldn't get a check to save my soul. Mm-hmm. And so it can get pretty competitive, especially when the cows are good and cooperating. So you're really competing against you and your horse against the cow, not so much against the competitor you have. And that cow is your make or break moment if you're getting check pluses or check minuses, adding points to your 70 or taking away from your 70.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, just as tagging off your cow at the wrong time, if the cow moves or takes a step, there goes 5 points. Oh, so brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. I just recently I went to a couple like team sorting events with, or like a 3-man sorting event. And
very, very energetic, isn't
it? Yes. But I've seen videos of cutting, competitions, but like you said, like it's a little bit slower, or it's a lot slower.
Yeah.
But like you said, like the patience and waiting, like I can see the difference between.
For as quick as your horse moves, you have to wait before that movement.
Right.
And that's
right.
Yeah. Your speed comes through accuracy, not because you're being fast. Your speed becomes because you're accurate and you're patient. Now the horse has the ability to move with that cow.
Yeah. I wouldn't even know how to do any of that. I can't offer any of that.
It is the coolest thing. No. Like, it is so cool. The first time you sit on a finished cutting horse and it swings back to make that turn, you just kind of go, oh my goodness. Yeah. That's the coolest move I've ever felt on a horse.
Well, I felt that turn one time, but my horse was going the opposite way.
Yeah, you don't want to feel it in most other disciplines.
Yeah, he was like, is that a cow? It moved. We're going to die.
Right. I'm on it. Right. Funny enough, yeah, one of my cutting horses does not like the cows behind her in the herd. She's like, no, don't let them get too close.
Don't roll up on me like that, cow.
I'm with you. I got it. We don't have to be there. Gotta love horses, right?
It's pretty funny. So all these accolades, huh?
I said that's the coolest part about cutting. It's never the same thing twice. Every time you put your hand down, new cow, new thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with all these accolades that came with 2019, what vision do you have for 2020?
Gosh, I'm still kind of absorbing 19. I did use 2 horses to be able to make a world title, maintain the top 15 in the 2000, which is a feat within itself. Everybody that was there with me in the top 15, I have to congratulate each one of them, because let me tell you, it takes so much fortitude just to make the top 15. And it took so much work to keep myself from both let alone gaining a world title in one. My horse needed a break at that time. We ran really, really hard, and the hauling is tremendous going from area to area and climate to climate. And I'd be in, South Texas over to Arizona to California, all the way to, Missouri for the end of the year. So it was a tremendous amount of hauling. So I had switched to my second horse from Leon Harrell, which was Metallic Sweet Girl RG, to get some fresh legs underneath me. My horses always come first, and I wanted to make sure I had Rio Cat for 2020.
Right.
And so I rode her because I knew I'd have to run in the 50 amateur. It's a money added class to get enough money to stay ahead to get Rookie of the Year. And so it was the first time someone from the Arizona Cutting Horse Association had won Rookie of the Year for the National Cutting Horse Association. And I also won Rookie of the Year in the Arizona Cutting Horse Association, as well as the year-end finals. I won their year-end 15 amateur, and then reserve for the 2000 limit rider in the Arizona Association. So, and then was reserved for the 15 AM and for the 2000 the Pacific Coast Cutting Horse Association.
Wow.
So that was just quite a bit of hauling, multiple associations, and to make it there in the NCHA, I really wanted to come home. I had been home 4 times last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so I really wanted to come home and recharge a little bit. I mean, I have 5 hunting dogs here at my house that I hadn't seen in forever, and my other horses, my ranch horses and my outfitting horses are here, and I just was like, I need a month off. And some of my fellow competitors that were at World Finals are already showing, and I have to tip my hat to them. I'm like, I could hardly breathe. I definitely have goals for 2020, but I need a chance just to recoup and enjoy life just a little bit before going down the road again. I'm so hooked on it. There's no way I can go down the road halfway, right? Of course, I want to try to make the top 15 again. It's a feat just to try to make the top 15. And so I'll be riding those same horses, Metallic Sweet Girl RG, I call her Rosie, and my Bobby Girl. And I'll also be riding Juicy, Rain Innocent, for this next year. So yeah. She's full of juice. I love that horse. They're all down at Leon Harrell, so hopefully I'll be able to compete out of there and then haul one horse to California and leave her in California. That way I'm not spreading myself thin. My horses get more of a break. Right. And hopefully have a little bit more of a chill year while trying to still obtain those goals is the plan.
Yeah, we'll Well, I mean, you've done it already, so since you've already kind of learned the ropes, I'm sure you will find ways to adjust and improve, and that way you would get out there this year and be even better.
Yes, a lot easier to walk into an environment.
Hold on, Caitlin's coming back.
When you've had some time, you know what I mean, a little bit of experience. Pretty tough when you're not only new in cutting, but you really don't know anybody in cutting. Now you're hauling down the road by yourself. It could be something. So this year it's a different set of pressures. You want to match up to what you were doing and hopefully exceed what you were doing the previous year. And I tell you what, a smile goes a long ways walking into new arenas and new groups. You walk up and just, hey, I'm Raven. I have no idea who I'm supposed to be. And I usually cheer for everyone around me. If I see someone having a bad day, I don't know, I'll be like, hey, do you need some help? You need me to hold that? Is everything okay? And it's amazing the bond you make with all these people that you meet, because we're all going through it. We all have our ups and downs. All of us are away from home. We're just living out of our trucks and trailers and, stall to stall and trying to keep your horse sound, yourself sound, right? You can limp all day as long as your horse looks good.
Right.
So I think this year is just a different set of challenges. Now I have a certain goal that I want to reach, and want to better my ability to be there for my horse instead of my horse having to constantly make up for my mistakes and things of that sort, and try to become a better showman. That's really, really big on my list, and to master being a lot more calm in the middle. So when I get nervous, my horse isn't like, where did she go? So I just want to make sure the top 15, without climbing out of the saddle 10 times a day.
Oh, well, I'm sure you will definitely get there. You seem to already have a good idea of, what you need to work on, which is, good for all of us. You can't get to the end of the year and be like, all right, I'm gonna do it again, but I'm gonna do it the same way,
Right.
Right. I'm like, if we're not elevating, then we're sitting in the same spot, and I don't want to do that at this point. So, the best way to be 40, just keep climbing.
Yeah.
So this is a cool sport. We can do it for a really long time, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
When you're not doing stuff that's horse related, what are you doing?
There's stuff to do. I was confused by your question.
Like in that short amount of time that there is.
Yeah, those 4 days. Those 4 days.
Right.
Right? It's like, it was a tough year last year. I had a family member pass away, and our family is so awesome. Like, we always enjoy gathering together. So here we are, we're meeting for this funeral. My family's like, so what have you been doing? I'm like, oh, well, riding. They're like, no, but what else? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to get to the top 15. And they're like, well, don't you do something for fun? I'm like, well, sometimes I take selfies with my horse and my dog on the saddle. And they're like, that's it.
Well, I spend a lot of time driving too.
Yeah.
Right.
You used to travel, you used to do this, you used to do that. And I a paramedic by trade, so I was always volunteering somewhere, or like volunteering to go on a medical mission somewhere. And I had taught classes over in New Zealand, so they were looking for all these stories. And I'm like, I went to Gonzales, Texas, and stayed in La Quinta, So like, I wish I could say I did so much more. Really, I would like to travel a little more this year. I'd like to be able to make sure that I still jump on an airplane and do some stuff. And hunting is a big passion of mine. I didn't get to hunt at all last year. I normally do like a total archery challenge, and we shoot bows, and I didn't do that either. So I hope that this year I can plan a little better and be like, hey, not only did I ride my horse.
Right. I actually have another story for you.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to be so boring in that department, but really the most excitement we had was, hey, you guys want to go to dinner? Like, that's,
Yeah, gosh,
it'd be
how
really
dare
exciting.
you only do cutting horses and win all the amazing awards? How dare you?
I tell you though, it was worth it. There was a few times I was like, what am I doing at the end of the year? I was like, I never won a saddle before. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh my goodness, I won a saddle in a shootout. I have the Cowan Ranch series. They were awesome. They sponsored that. I won a saddle for that. I won the World Championship saddle. I won a saddle for the year end at the Arizona Association. It was like, okay, yeah. Sometimes if you really want something, you kind of have to zero in on it and go for it. And way worth it. Worth it. Not a lot of people can say they have Rookie of the Year. It's your one-time shot. So pretty stoked.
I'm trying to imagine what your tack room looks like. Like, where are these saddles at?
So funny you say that. My saddles are like literally still in my trailer at Leon's Ranch down in Texas. I like flew home and left my truck and trailer and everything there. I was like, God bless you, Leon. I love you to death. I'm gonna go home for a little bit. And he's like, okay. I said, I'm just gonna leave my rig here and I'll just fly and go to show and try to get a little extra home time. And so yeah, I mean, and my poor trainer in Arizona, Jade, he's got my other saddle and buckles that he's picked up. And so basically it's like, I look at my world championship buckle. I'm like, that's cool. I'm glad I went down there. I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's funny to be so far removed and so nice to be at home and so humbled by the horses. Everybody's like, oh, next year. And I'm like, I'm so humbled by this year and how it can go at any given time,
Yeah, once you put your mind to something.
You can be winning, you can not be winning. You could have a sound horse, you can not have a sound horse. You can have a good day, or you have the next day where your rig's down and that's the end of showing for that week or possibly longer. So I'm just going into next year just thankful that I have so many good horses underneath me and that I get to keep doing this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
it's awesome to see. Kind of a funny story. I know that you guys are the young Black equestrians, and there's a really great Black trainer, Brandon Landis. He's very, very talented with young horses, and we were at the same show together. And everybody kept saying, "Oh, do you know Brandis? Oh, do you know Brandis? Oh, do you know Brandis?"
All Black people know each other.
Right? Then finally I just stopped and I was like, "Is Brandis Black?"
Right. It must be. Gotta be.
No, and I was like, oh, well, you guys keep asking me if I know him, so I'm assuming he's the other Black rider here.
That is so funny. I actually did reach out to him, so we're supposed to be scheduling something soon.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, he's a great guy. But it was just so funny. I just like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in California and he's very talented and really good showman, and it'd be fun to watch his career develop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel like the people in the cutting horse industry are pretty receptive and like, you know, how stuffy like hunter jumper places can be, you know, Western pleasure sometimes can be kind of like snooty-ish, you know, do you feel like they're pretty receptive in the cutting horse industry?
Even ranching can be tough because historically it's thought to be as a very white dominant sport or white dominant lifestyle of ranching. And so I've met my fair share of obstacles, and I was very nervous about getting into cutting because it's rooted in ranching, which sometimes I'm met with open arms, and other times you're kind of like, wow, I am the one that does not fit in here. And so, as you guys know, I have my hair locked. So it's
I know, I love them. Your pictures, and they're like this way and this way. Love them.
Yeah, right. These are sister locks. And so not everybody's super receptive to that. And there's a lot of preconceived notions. And when I got my hair locked, a lot of people within my own community were like, I liked your hair when it was straight. Why would you do that? You know, locks are, ugh. And so I thought, gosh, Raven, what are you doing getting in a truck driving to Arizona by yourself, going to a cutting show? And I have to say, Arizona's association was 5 stars with never letting that be an issue. I had one incident where someone wasn't kind, and I tell you what, the entire association was blown away by it and was like, that's not acceptable, and that's not what the cutting family's about. And you know, we're here to ride and we're here to show horses, and if that happens, then that person's not welcome. Which is amazing because, as you well know, with the different disciplines, that doesn't always happen.
No, it doesn't.
Not at all.
And that very last show of the year, driving to Missouri, I had more anxiety than I'd had in 20 years going someplace new. I actually asked a friend to drive with me because I was like, Missouri's like the South. I'm in a rig bum. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm about to drive through the real Bible Belt.
Yeah, I need a witness.
I'm gonna get off the highway to get fuel. Like, oh, because I've had people at gas stations go. I had one guy approach me crossing the border from California to Arizona, and he was like, "Whose horses are these?" And I said, "Excuse me, this is my rig." And he goes, "I'm going to stand here until the owner of this rig comes back." And I was like, "Well, you're going to be standing here holding your breath for a long time, honey." You know, filled up my fuel, and he went to go stand in front of my door, and I thought for a second, holy cow.
Oh my gosh.
He's standing in front of my door. He's a grown man, and he thinks I'm stealing somebody else's rig. I don't look like someone that drives this rig. And this was coming from California, Arizona. And I looked at him and I squared off, and I was like, I'm willing to do what's necessary to protect my rig. Are you? And he moved to the left and looked at me, and my dog was inside just ready to pounce. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry. It looks like the dog knows you. I just didn't want someone messing with someone's, rig. And I thought, no, that's my dually. That's my trailer. Those are my horses. Step one bit closer. I'm going to protect them all. So I really didn't know going into a new association, I was just so blown away. Like Jay Keller and out of Al Dunning's barn, there's zero of that. It doesn't exist. And it's so wonderful. And Leon Harrell, when I say he had zero of it, that man was like, you can win a world championship in the very first week that I met him. There was not a doubt. There wasn't a, ooh, you have these challenges. He was like, you can just go out and do it. Mm-hmm. And so driving to Missouri was the first time where I was like, ooh, I've made the wrong decision. And right, a couple of the stations made me wonder just a little bit, but the people in Cutting were so amazing. I showed up and everybody was just like, man, we've been watching you. How awesome. Like you're sitting really close. You guys are 1 and 2. How close are you? Every single time I walk out of the pen, they're like, have you slid in first place? How close are you? I know you're keeping count. And I'm like, wow, okay. So, sometimes prejudice has a way of making you almost reverse act in defensiveness before you even give someone a chance because you're scared of things happening the same way. And what a pleasant surprise to get there. And that wasn't the case. And people were so welcoming. And Elaine Jackson is the secretary out there. She was just kind, and I'm so happy you could be here. This is the first cutting we've put on here. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked it. Her biggest concern was like, do you like the dirt? I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I made
yeah.
So yeah, it's been, cutting has been really amazing that way. I've been really blown away by just the candor of people and just, everybody's really there competing against the cow, and it's pretty special.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So let's see. What advice would you give aspiring cowgirls and even cowboys? I mean, whatever. Do you consider yourself a cowgirl?
I guess so on some levels. Yes. I have a few hats here that would say, boy, they've seen a lot of time. I've got a lot of saddle time doing a lot of things that would be considered that walk of life. And especially if you saw where I live up here at 9,000 feet, I don't have a neighbor for ages. But definitely consider myself a horsewoman first and foremost, always trying to do what's right for my horse first, right. Which I know probably drives so many people insane because even if it seems unreasonable, I'm like, well, middle of the show, I'll pick up and go home if I think my horse doesn't feel good. Right. And so I try to keep that in mind that, I do it for the belt buckle, the check, the saddles, the plethora of prizes that are never ending when you head to a show. My horse really does it because I have a pocket full of cookies. She gets out of the ring. She's like, it's so good. I have a cookie now. I'm like, you get all the cookies. You just won me a saddle. She's like, okay, cookie time, So I try to keep a level head for that. So I always tell people, if you put the horse first, so many other things are easier to be in perspective because you love the horse first. You love the sport second. And once you love the horse, you start making the correct decisions. You'll find a trainer that will respect you and your animal for that. And I highly suggest a trainer, which if you met me a few years ago, I would have been like, well, I don't know. I train all my own horses. Cutting's a different sport. It's a team sport. And the more I look at some of the other aspects of like hunter jumpers or barrel racing or things of that sort, it's also a team sport. You're just in a team member with your horse. But the more you know the people around you, the more at ease you are. Yeah, the more ease you bring to the table, the better you compete. Getting a coach helps ease you through that. And so be ready and be in a place to take criticism, because in the end, they're not criticizing you as a person. They're just trying to make you better. They're criticizing what is not in the right place, what's not being conducive to your horse progressing, because they really have your horse interest as much as you do. And so, get a coach, be involved in a barn community. It's pretty awesome experience. I know where I live, I will never do anything like I did with Jade Keller again. It was awesome while I was there, but I live pretty remote. And so at least I know, having spent that time, when I go to a show, I still have those ties. I still have, Leon Harrell and Jade Keller and, Justin White was a great help when I was down in Southern Texas, and Zeke and Mark Mills. I mean, all these people who have stepped up and helped coach me along the way. And when you have that, it eases so much fear of you going to a new space. It eases your fear of criticism because you understand people are trying to help you. And now you can learn a new discipline.
Yeah. And I think
never know.
that speaks to the importance of networking, in any, discipline, any community, whether it be with horses or not, networking and
in the Black community, we have a fear of being seen in a group when it comes to being in the horse community. You get really nervous about how you're perceived.
right.
And so I would see other Black people at events and go to say hi, and they would be like, and walk off, like, did they just give me the nod and leave? I can't believe I'm going to chase them down like a crazy person. We'll be friends.
Yeah.
And so, and I have approached other people that aren't the same walk of life and been like, hey, it's okay to say hi. It's okay, we're friends, and it's okay that we're good at this together, because that's how everybody else is here. Everybody else is here as a team. So, be encouraging to that. I can't tell you. I mean, I've been at gas stations, and I had a group of little girls come up to me, and there was one little Black girl in the group, and she was all the way in back, and she was super shy, and she's like, I've seen you on Instagram. And I was like, you've seen me on Instagram? That's the strangest thing anybody has. I'm in the middle of Texas. And she's like, I'm afraid of horses. And I was like, I brought all the people in the group, opened up my trailer door, had everybody pet and feed the horses. It's really important as you go down the road that the next generation gets to know that this is okay for all walks, colors, different facets of life, that horses can bring us all together in a way that we've never fathomed before.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity, and it's a platform to show that there's something different besides MLK Boulevard. And when I was a paramedic down in Oakland, I had been known to load my horse up and go to an inner city school and be like, here, this is what horses are, and load them right on the pavement. And I just think it's important to know that we can aspire for something different. I was so fortunate and blessed in this life to be raised in it and have a mother who was like, I'm going to go buy an off the track thoroughbred. I mean, that's insanity. It makes sense. I'm like, I don't know who's crazier, my mom or me. No wonder I'm where I am. Right? But not every mom's going to do that. Not every group of parents is going to wake up and say, hey, you could do this. And, I come from a mixed family. My dad is white, he's Irish, and my mom's Black Cajun from down south in Louisiana and Virginia. And both parts of my family were raising horses. And so I would get flack from both communities. The Black community would be like, oh, you're into horses? That's weird. I'm like, is it? Because my grandpa grew up as Cowboy. And the white community would be like, it's so weird you're into horses. I'm like, is it? Because my dad was the last unit of the cavalry in World War II before the tanks came in. I was like, it is literally what I am made of. And there's so many kids that when they touch a horse, it sparks something. It helps with everything from depression and confidence. I mean, you put a little girl that has no control of anything else in her life on the top of a horse, there goes a mad woman right there. She just found something that gave her wings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Confidence you can have in the world. And so if you don't take time to harbor that, then we won't have anything for the next generation. Horses, we don't have a need for them anymore, and kids need that confidence. They are so attached to the cell phone, computers, and everything else out there that what are they doing to get that confidence? So I try to remember whenever I'm at a horse show, if I see a young kid or something, especially if they look different, do you want to come sit on my horse? Do you want to come take a picture? Do you want to feed the horse? And I think I'd probably get more questions about my hair at that point.
That's still an appropriate thing, though. That's still representation there also, because I know there's several.
To be natural and
Yeah. That's something we want to talk about also anyway. Just like, natural hair or embracing it is just, it's a hot topic right now. But, being a horse person, like, I went to get fitted for a helmet, and it took an hour. It took an hour to find, and she's like putting a hairnet on me, and my hair was sticking out like this, and I was like, girl, this don't work. Like, this don't work for me.
let me tell you two things. One, Colorado Mountain Hat Company, and what's the hat company out of Scottsdale, Arizona? He's the only custom hatter in Scottsdale, Arizona. Never once mentioned my natural hair. Amazing. And they've done all my custom hats. Sister Locks has made it so easy.
I believe it.
To wear a hat. You know what I mean? Yes, so easy. And it amazes me that in the airlines, my mom was a flight attendant for years. In her manual, it said she is not allowed to have an ethnic hairdo. That was something she could be fired for. If you had braids, locks, right? 2019 in California, a law finally passed that you cannot be fired for using an ethnic hairdo. The decision to have locks while being in this lifestyle was one where I was like, oh my goodness, this can make or break my ability to really go for something in the horse world. And one thing I'll give Sister Locks is most people are confused by them because of how they're small and how they move. They're not what they are, and it gives you a space for people to understand. But I have had several women not just touch my hair, but are they heavy? And what is it? And can you wash it? Yes, you can wash it. No, they're not heavy. It is all my hair. No, I don't braid them. So there are other challenges that come with it, especially being a Black female. As a Black male, you know, you wear a short haircut, you pop on a hat, and you're off. A Black female is there comes into question if that's all your hair. And so it has been something. It's been really great. Brianna Noble, she trains horses out of California. I do Sister Locks. I totally just installed hers. I was like, I'm going to give you the gift of Sister Locks today so you could just be free in this. And she was like, girl, life changing. Had I known.
Yeah, you did her Sister Locks?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Now you have to stop.
I know. I'm like, well, no, I'm not ready yet.
And you'll know when you're ready. I did. She came out to ride with me for a week, and I was like, I'm just gonna, because she was teetering on the fence, and I was like, I'm just gonna install them for you. I am fully, hi little doggy. I am fully certified to do Sister Locks. I got certified to do my mom's hair, right? Because you know how we are. Can't have anybody else do my mom.
Can't just have no random people.
Right? Yeah, I'm like, no. And so my Sister Lock consultant was like, you don't do anybody else's hair? I'm like, nope. Just my mom's. So, right? That I wouldn't even touch it. But then I was like, man, a young Black female rider, this gives you such an edge. It's so easy to care for, so easy to pop on a hat, so easy to be able to just like withstand humidity. As we all know. Yeah. So yeah, you know, I think it's a really cool place to be in, to be able to talk to the positives of what this is. So, you know, and yeah, I mean,
well, thank you.
It's game changer. The game changer.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you guys know me or if you've looked her up, but you guys should definitely look her up. She's been in this gig, and she's still in high school, and she made the world finals, top 15 2 years in a row in the 50 am, and she's going to be pretty phenomenal. No, Mia Webster, I think is her last name. Let me make sure.
We are always looking for people to reach out to.
Yeah, she's a young rider, and she is really very talented. Her family owns the Clark Butte Ranch up in Oregon, and to be in high school and make the top 15 2 years in a row in the 50 amateur is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I will send you who she is on Instagram. I'll send you her Instagram thing. But yeah, she's fun to watch. She's very, very talented rider. I think she's going to go really far.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. I don't want to take up all of your night, but I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Yes, it was very awesome. More than you even know.
Awesome. Well, listen, ladies, if you're ever at a cutting or you see that I'm posted at a cutting, come up and say hi and learn about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm all about that. Thank you so much for having me. It's it's a big deal. I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, good luck with your 2020. I'm sure we'll be in touch, but good luck with everything this year. I hope you stay safe, and I hope your horses stay safe, and I hope you guys kind of reach the levels that you're looking for.
We're going to come home a little more often this year.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Take time for yourself.
Yeah. So, definitely. Thank you, ladies. You guys have a great night out there on the East Coast.
All righty. You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for watching YBE TV. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more of our content. Rate, review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. See you guys next week.